The chase for the Winstel Cup has begun, and the first round starts at Dover International Speedway. Only a handful of rounds left, 6 races to go before we crown a new champion for the series. Who will walk away with a trophy, and who will walk away only hoping they chase glory in next season? We'll find out here as the chase continues in the Winstel Cup Series. You're watching ABN's live coverage of the Winstel Cup Series live from Dover International Speedway. Joe Cortez, Carmen, Sienna in the booth with you tonight. And Carmen, round number 2 of the chase. This ought to be very entertaining on many different levels.
Dover International Speedway is always just such an interesting race. It's called the Monster Mile for a reason. It's concrete banking. It's a mile oval. It's got the speeds of an intermediate, but it races like a short track. And this is a track where you don't have small accidents. Usually they turn into log jams pretty quickly, especially at a turn 2. It's a tire eater is what it is. This is a track where tire conservation is going to be very critical. Drivers have pointed that out already just looking through practice. Tire tread going down to 22% tire life left in those tires. What does that mean? The cords are showing on that right rear tire. And drivers will have to mind that here this evening. Those that can really kind of put together long runs and sustain those tires will be the ones at the front of the field. And fortunately for us, a lot of the 10 drivers in the chase going into this race are very good at doing just that.
When we came to you last time on August 4th, defending champion Tyler Head was your winner. And even though he's not racing in the final race, he's now in contention for that championship. As it stands right now, coming into tonight, Dylan Roberts is your leader at the top of that set. Christian Budd second, Nick Doucette in third. As we mentioned, Tyler Head moves up 6 points to get into position number 4 of the championship. Jose Solis fifth. Emily Howe moved down 5 points to 6, or 5 ranks to 6th. Gabriel Mauricio down to 7th, Sean Bailey 8th, Brandon McGee 9th, and Parker Alexander rounding out the top 10. Those are your 10 drivers still competing for the Cup. Now I have to ask, with Tyler Head's big win last week, if he gets a couple of more of those, he could accidentally back his way into another championship.
He absolutely could, and I think even with the uncertainty around whether or not he can actually participate in the race, still sort of circling, he is one until you know that he is not racing. He should be your number 1 threat. If you're Dylan Roberts, Christian Budd, Nick Doucette, Jose Solis Jr., you're looking at that 4 car more than you are anybody else at the moment. You have to focus on that 4 car because he is that measuring stick. He is that bar you have to beat as the defending champion, trying to defend that crown. And for Tyler Head, he's in a point of, hey, if I can stack up enough points here and have enough go my way to where I can still win the championship and not be at Homestead, that's a huge benefit there. So in mathematically, that's possible for Tyler Head. And that's what's scary for Jose Solis and Doucette and Christian Budd. Tyler Head won on an incredible run last season. He's going to try to do the same here in the chase. And this is a track that suits him and Christian Budd better than it does just about anybody else in that top 10, just because of how well they've been all season long at saving those tires. There's some spoilers in the mix that can take some points away from them that haven't been around most of the season. You look at drivers like Logan Kress, who's come in. He's returning to Winstel for the first time since the Winstel 400 in January. We'll see what he can do. He's in the 01 car tonight, and he's the fastest right now in practice. But keep an eye on the 4, keep an eye on the 17. It's a 2-horse race between those two right now as far as longevity. Dylan Roberts, though, if he can ride the momentum that he's built up so far over the last 3 or 4 races, if Tyler Head's not there, Dylan Roberts has a really good shot at Homestead, too.
Guys who need a good run tonight are at the bottom of your screen there. Parker Alexander, Brendan McGee, Sean Peleg. They're not out of the chase. They're not mathematically eliminated, but they definitely need to have a strong showing tonight if they want to be in part of that conversation. Gabriel Mauricio, who won Daytona to open the series, also in a bad way right now, 68 points behind your leader, Emily Howe, in that mix as well. The nice thing is next week they go to Talladega Superspeedway, where we know that Jose Solis and Emiliano and Gabriel Mauricio are strong all the time there. The problem is they've got to get through another short track. After New Hampshire, we're now at Dover. 61 laps here. It's not for the faint of heart, but it's not necessarily a a career ender for some of these drivers who need a good night.
No, and it's not. And you look at this battle just outside the top 10, outside the chase for the Winstel Cup standings here. Chris Champeau, Jonathan Hernandez. These are drivers that just barely missed out, and they're going to be mixing it up here with the likes of Alexander, of Brendan McGee, of Gabriel Mauricio, stealing some points away. This is where you see sort of the threshold of some of the spoilers come into play. Evan Locks puts together some top 10 finishes, so is Mike Rasmus. So you're going to see some of your spoilers come in throughout this field here that aren't battling for the championship, but are trying to just battle their way forward here. Just looking throughout this field, obviously a lot of very recognizable names throughout the season here. And then you see the cut line between the top 35. Top 35 gets you locked into the first 4 races next season. Right now, Ken Huff is at that cut line. Roy Collins and Olivia Hayward outside that cut line, but not by much. They can still race their way in, and right now they need to, and they need to take advantage of races like here and Talladega next week to really try to maximize those points and get themselves locked in to next season's top 4 races.
It is the race for the race for next season, I suppose, and that's actually a very good point you bring up. Top 35 are locked in for next season, and if you're on the outside looking in, you could be missing 1 or 2 races to start the year. But tonight, all of our focus is on Dover International Speedway, Dover Downs, as it used to be called, the Miracle Mile here in Dover, Delaware, as these drivers get ready to take on this track. Qualifying begins now. You see Brandon McGee getting off pit road for the first time tonight. Everybody getting qualifying in their own way for quick group qualifying for all these drivers. 1 lap to set the money time, and then let the chips fall as they may.
Yeah, Brandon McGee, obviously one of the drivers, first one out on track of the chase contenders. We'll see how he puts on laps here. Again, the leaderboard's gonna be at the top of your screen. You'll see the intervals in the best lap times here. All the drivers in the chase are marked in yellow, so very easy to pick out who's who and who's in that fight. McGee's going to be one of them. 17 starts. Look at that result, though. Look at how he just barely squeaked by into the chase. 1 top 5, 4 top 10s. It was a very tense midfield fight for him to overcome to get to this point. And now he's just trying to keep himself in that championship conversation as a long shot, really loose there out of turn 4. His first lap going to be good enough for just 6th place at the moment, and those times are quickly falling.
Right now, Christian Budd is your leader, pacing the 2nd. Emily Howe 3rd. Chris Champeau 4th. Oh no, check that. Mike Rasmus now in 4th. Chris Champeau 5, and the 0-1 of Kress in 6th. Only two of your Cup qualified drivers right now in the top 10, but Jose Zulus Jr. could make a change for that if he's able to qualify within the top 10. McGee falling drastically on the board, going from 12th, 13th, 14th. He's going to have a long climb through the field if he wants to get back up there. Jose Zulus Jr. now through turns 3 and 4 onto the front stretch, I'm sorry, the back stretch, I should say, now through turns 3 and 4 for the final time on his 1 qualifying lap in the GM Goodwrench machine. The number 29 Chevrolet gets to the line, and it will be a qualifying time that will put him, actually looks like it puts him among the top qualifiers.
Top 6 there for Jose Solis Jr. Tyler Head completing his qualifying run now. Top 10 run has been perfect this season for Tyler Head. Trying to keep that going as he finishes qualifying run. He qualifies P4. Still some drivers to do qualifying laps here, including one of the new drivers, Jess Coleman, in the 22 Bill Davis Racing Dodge machine there. This is Coleman's qualifying lap. They've officially started their run here. Again, a couple newcomers, a couple returning drivers. Logan Kress obviously qualified 14th. Coleman, brand new to the series. 2nd career start and 25th place.
Coleman taking over the race car from Justin Howe, who was running that 22 earlier this season. Now you see Gabriel Mauricio on your screen, the driver of that Silver Bullet number 40 machine. He was your winner to start the season. That was his only win, was at Daytona International Speedway. So tonight he's looking not only to hang on, but to thrive and get some momentum going into the next Super Speedway, where he could definitely make some noise. Onto the front stretch, number 40 goes, and that puts him in contention for this race. Right now, Bud and Roberts, your top two. Tyler Head qualifies in fourth. Emily Howe stays in fifth as we watch Alex Bates now in the 25 take his qualifying time.
Mauricio qualified 15th there, not exactly where he wanted, but you saw his results there. You saw the standings that he had. 17 starts, 12 top 10s. He's typically better at getting into the top 10 if he starts outside of it. So keep an eye on that 40 car to just race his way forward a little bit and keep putting out those consistent races. Again, consistency at places like this are pretty critical. Alex Bates obviously missed out on the chase. Starting this race right now, currently 26th. But several drivers have yet to qualify here, and with about 50 seconds left to go in qualifying, it looks like they will kind of just settle for not qualifying. Craig Lautenschlager, Ken Huff, Hayden Repas, Corey Steinhauser, Ryan Hill, and Rory Collins, all among those that will elect to not qualify here. But 33 cars here tonight.
Sometimes discretion is the better part of valor, and when you're running for one of those top 35 spots, you don't necessarily need to run to win. You need to run to finish and have a strong finish at that in order to pick up those vital end of season points that you need. You see the final qualifying order scrolling at the top of your screen with only 10 seconds left to go, and it looks like we've got five chase contenders in the top 10 right now. Gabriel Mauricio making it 6 out of the top 15. Some of these drivers look like they did not have the qualifying time they wanted.
Yeah, Brendan McGee, we saw him struggle right out of the box to get everything ready to go for this race. So let's go into the starting grid here. Obviously, qualifying results were very interesting indeed. Let's look in full. Christian Budd, pole position. We said he was going to look good here in Dover, and indeed he is. So is Dylan Roberts, though. Larry Pace, once again, looking outstanding. Third place qualifier ahead of Tyler Head and Emily Howe. Mike Rasmus, I said he was someone to look out for playing spoiler. Indeed, that's the case. Same with Christian Poe in 8th. Jose Solis Jr. might dab in the middle between them and 7th. Evan Locke, another top 10 qualifying effort, and then Nick Doucette, as you mentioned, 5 chase drivers in the top 10. This is a very power-packed top 10 of drivers that are either really quick out of the gate or really quick at the end of the tire run. So you're going to see a big clash between the likes of Solis and Budd, between Roberts and Head, just as they ebb and flow throughout this race, especially in the early going, provided we get that long green flag run that we've seen so often in this series.
Would make for some very entertaining racing. Only 61 laps around the Monster Mile here in Dover, Delaware. Parker Alexander in 11th, Jonathan Hernandez 12th, Kyle Benson be 13th, Logan Creston 01 14th, Gabriel Mauricio chasing for the cup in 15th, Brandon Cruz, Mo Perry, Steve Brown, Corey Cook, and Kirk Marble rounding out your top 20.
33 cars starting in this race. Brendan McGee, one of the lower rated or lower qualified chase drivers here in 21st. He's alongside Matt Taylor there in row 11. Tyler Murray, Matt Sisler, Philip Snipes, Alex Bates, your top 26 there. Jess Coleman, his second race of the season here in 27th is where he'll start. Ryan Hill, Craig Lautenschlager, Ken Huff, the top 30 that complete that. Again, Hill, Lautenschlager, and Huff, 3 of the drivers that did not qualify. Same with Steinhauser, Repas, and Collins. They will round out the back of the field. They're expecting trouble early, and with the tire wear as it has been, don't blame them.
So 33 drivers, as Carmen said, will start this race from pit road, and now the pace car is going to make its take them for their 2 qualifying laps around this very short track. Carmen, what are you expecting from this race? What are we going to see in 60 laps here?
This is going to be so tire centric. It's going to be, obviously the shorter fuel tanks makes it to where you're just pitting to a fuel number anyway. But it's about managing your tire wear up until that point. These cars skate around so much. They dance around. It's a lot of fun to watch, especially with all the talent that is in this series, just watching them dance around here. But this is a genuinely difficult track. And this is a track where if someone slips up near the front of the field, say you try to take space that isn't there, you don't have 1 or 2 car accidents typically. It's 9, 10, 11 car accidents because of just how tight this racetrack is. On the back straightaway and on the front straightaway, there's not a lot of space. You bounce off the wall and you just find another wall or another car. So it's about minding your P's and Q's and being patient. It's easier said than done when you know it's only 60 or 70 miles here to try to get some work done. but you have to be patient. You cannot win on lap 1. This track punishes anyone that tries to think otherwise. But that's part of the magic, that's part of the charm here of Dover Motor Speedway, and it's as a series that only goes to most tracks just once a season. It's such a good, obviously, change of pace, obviously, compared to the flat-out 3-4 ride racing we'll see next week in Talladega. We're going to see a lot of having to think your way forward. It's going to be a chess match at the front of the field.
As we often say, if in order to finish first you must finish, and that is definitely going to be the case at this track. 70 laps, 70 miles around the Monster Mile, and they call it that for a reason. This concrete track is very unforgiving. It punishes tires. It forces drivers to manage their cars like any other track in the circuit, and these drivers have to do everything they can to figure out how to make these little Gen 4 cars work underneath them with so much horsepower and not enough give to them. This is going to be a very entertaining race on many levels. Thank you for joining us here on ABN for our live coverage of the Winstel Cup Series. Throwing it back to the 2004 season, Christian, Bud, Dylan Thomas will start on row number 1, getting ready, Dylan Roberts, I should say, getting ready to go into the green flag racing with a 1 to go. Race car makes a hard left turn down pit road, and we are racing. Green flag flies, and the 2 leaders already side by side, getting a big jump on the field. But on the inside, Roberts on the outside.
Yeah, really good jump by the front row there. They were lockstep there at the start. Christian, Bud, though, with that inside lane, the advantage on lap 1. Larry Pace did a really good job of getting a good jump as well in 3rd. And you see there 2 more chase contenders side by side. That's Head and Howe battling for 4th place at the moment. This is where the outside lane begins to build up a little bit. You want to, at least at the very least, be single file in this situation, because you want to be able to use all of the racetrack. You saw Emily Howe couldn't ride up the racetrack in 1 and 2. Jose Solis Jr. could just slot into that door that was open, and now Emily Howe has even more struggles because she'll lose a spot to Solis Jr. and maybe to Mike Rasmus going into turn 1 again. She has to slot into as quickly as possible. Again, it's about maximizing the amount of racetrack you have to use. If you're side by side with somebody, the outside lane always prevails because they've got the momentum exiting the corner.
Yeah, it's absolutely correct, and that's why you see the 4 still trying to fight to catch up to 98 of pace. Now the next battle is between the 18 of Chris Champeau and the 42 of Evan Locke. Side by side they go as the 24 behind them, 24 belonging, of course, to Nick Doucette. Doucette needs to have a good run tonight. He is in the chase, but he is in the second bottom half of it, so he needs to start figuring out where he's going to run and how he's going to do it. Back up front, no major changes as everybody now trying to figure out where they're going to go. Emily Howe continuing to drop backwards. This track is not being kind to her tonight.
It really isn't. She's been really thrown off for a loop here, and she's on the outside lane now too, which is very interesting because, well, as I mentioned earlier, the outside lane typically is where you want to go. If you've not practiced for the outside lane, though, it feels a lot different. The inside lane is a little bit smoother. The outside lane is a little bit bumpier. So if you're not ready for that bump and for those adjustments you have to make in the corner, you may still fall backwards because you do have to sort of just calibrate yourself to the line that you're wanting to run. You see where Nick Doucette's running and where Jonathan Hernandez is running. They prefer that middle lane. They prefer how free the car is in the middle lane. Emily Howe prefers to have a little bit more planted on the inside. And we're seeing right now what the difference in that is. Emily Howe struggling to get that car to stick on the bottom lane, whereas Doucette is just letting the rear of the car sort of guide him around the corner, and he's going to get around Emily Howe there for the 8th spot pretty easily once Howe moves to the inside lane.
Jonathan Hernandez now the next one trying to get around the 15 of Emily Howe. DEI teammates side by side as the 42 of Locke gets a little sideways coming off of turns 1 and 2. He'll get back in line as Doucette continues to move his way forward through the field. Now looking at the 19 of Chris Champeau, one of the drivers on the outside looking in for this chase run. Mike Rasmus also in the way as well, as Champeau doesn't look like he's very comfortable as well.
He really doesn't. Neither does this driver right here, Parker Alexander, looking very uncomfortable at the moment. It is not a great time for him riding on board. This is what you see here often. Let's see if we can pull away that driver info. Look at how much he's fighting that wheel. That wheel is jostling back and forth into the corner, and you see just how much he's fighting to keep that car on the inside lane. Everyone is fighting this. It's just a lot harder to do on the inside lane when you have the car constantly trying to turn right. And that's what I'm talking about with trying to use all the racetrack. It took forever for Parker to get clear enough to be able to use more of the racetrack, and you see the time that he lost just riding on board with him. It is an absolute wonderful thing that he is able to finally get some clean air, but now he's seeing all the action going on in front of him, and he needs to play some catch-up.
He needs to play catch-up in a big way. Unlike other chase formats, the 2004 chase format was, you could mathematically disqualify yourself without having good runs at the end of the season. With only 6 more races left to go in this chase, another bad run could effectively take Parker Alexander out of that conversation if he continues to fall backwards. You see now the 20 of Brandon Cruz, the 16 of Leandro Moreira trying to get around him, trying to start stalking that 5 machine, and if he doesn't find a way to get around this track quickly, he could be in jeopardy of dropping further. Kirk Marble, I said, in the 16, not Leandro Moreira.
Now, this is a very late addition. You're Kirk Marble, a brand new driver to the series, one of the 2 newer drivers in the series alongside the 22 of Jess Coleman. So Kirk Marble obviously taking over for what was Leandro Moreira's car. Moreira stepping aside and freeing up that 16 car. Kirk Marble making his first start, will not likely be able to race himself into the top 35, but doing a fantastic job right now of just mixing it in, learning the field, learning who he's racing with right now, and not a bad group with Brandon Cruz and Parker Alexander right ahead of him. So far, slotting right in. He's already gained 3 spots from 20th to 17th.
Give me, Carmen, but is it top 35 by drivers or top 35 by car points?
Top 35 by drivers in this situation, because that's how they track those that are returning to the series year after year, is based on drivers.
So the 16, well, we'll have to see what the 16 does, if he's able to race his way forward or what his goal is as he continues to run out there. Meanwhile, up front, absolutely no changes. Christian Budd started this race on the pole position. He will continue to lead, now scoring lap 14 of 70. Behind him, the 33 of Tyler Murray, 1 lap down in the Bass Pro Shops Tracker Boats machine. Now if you're Christian Budd, you got to start feeling a little bit more comfortable, because you're getting that lap traffic between you and those other drivers behind you, and you have to feel very good knowing that in order for them to challenge you, they've got to get around that lap traffic first.
Yeah, obviously that buffer is really, really nice, and at a place like Dover where it's already harder to pass, knowing that Tyler Murray's going to be running the same line as his teammate Dylan Roberts is nice, but you don't want to you don't want to rest on your laurels, and you don't want to let it kind of let your mind wander. We saw tires begin to puncture and flatten 30 laps in. We're halfway to that. Some tires punctured as early as lap 25. So there's a lot still going on through the drivers' heads right now. For Christian Budd right now, his championship contender rivals are not one of them, thankfully, but he's got a lot on his plate at the moment, and he can't let it slip.
No, you can't let it slip, but it would not surprise me if we start seeing drivers come down in the next 10 laps. Yes, they can go 30 laps in this setup and in this car, but I don't know that anybody's going to want to push the car that hard so early. Look for them to start coming down between laps 25 and 30, and look for them to continue to be in conservation mode as they run right now. Top 4 still in lockstep with one another. Christian Budd up front, Dylan Roberts position number 2, Larry Pace in 3rd, and I believe that's a 29 of Jose Solis Jr. now, who's worked his way into the top 4, and that's Tyler Head running at your top 5.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Jose Solis Jr. right now running a little bit longer, trying to make some inroads here in that number 29 machine. And again, easier said than done right now for Jose Solis Jr. A driver that typically burns his stuff up pretty early and has to deal with holding on late. So far, he's staying in there pretty well with Larry Pace. Larry Pace happy where he's at right now as well, the 98 car. He's had a lot of good qualifying results that have just not turned into good race results. This looking like it could be one of them here as we come around to complete lap 20. Holding on to the spot he started in 3rd. Jose Solis Jr., though, a really good effort so far, as those say we've had one incident. It's a single car crash. Hayden Repas, the 89, who has made it down the pit lane safely under his own power without needing to throw a caution for that. But one car looks like already out. We're down to 32 runners.
cautions could definitely affect how everything runs down on this track because of how abrasive it is, because of how rough it is on those tires. These cars could run very, very hard, and that would cause them to come down pit road earlier, especially if there is a caution flag at any given time. With the whole tough this track is, do you see caution flags becoming a major issue in it, Carmen?
I think if a caution happens late, it could be a huge issue. This race is either going to turn into a race where you have a lot of cautions late because everyone begins scrambling, or we see a green from start to finish. You're usually not going to get anything in between. You've seen some drivers already coming down pit lane. You said within the next 10 laps. So far, some of the drivers in the mid pack have already had and bailed out of that. So the leaders may try to go as close to 30 as possible, but pit window is officially open for some.
Battle now for position number 3 as the 8 of Roberts under fire from the 98 of Larry Pace. And again, Pace is not in one of those chase positions. He's not running for the championship. He's just running for pride. So I think he's having a little fun working with the 8 right now as you see the 8 get sideways coming off of turn number 2 there. These tires are wearing out and wearing out in a hurry. The leaders have to start thinking about coming down pit road, but nobody wants to be the first one to throw their hand out.
Yeah, everyone's trying to go long here because if someone does crash into pit lane, we've seen this so many times at Dover across different ABN series that we've broadcasted, whether it's ABN Champ Car, HTL Truck Series Racing, ARCS. We see races at Dover where a pit stop goes wrong because you have to go down to 35 miles an hour here. It's the slowest pit lane for an oval on the calendar. It's so hard to do, and it's very easy to slip up and mess up as well. Everyone wants to hold on as long as possible because if a caution does come out, it's a free pit stop, and you pin some of those that have already pit early a lap down. But you see what that means for Steve Brown, the 43. He is already setting sail. He's got fresh tires, and he is off and away. So there is a benefit to pitting early because you do have those fresh tires, and the seconds that they provide you are magnificent. But if you're a championship leader right now who's sitting in the top 5, 4 of them in the top 5 at the moment, 5 in the top 6, you have to stay out as long as you possibly can because you don't want to put yourself under fire of potentially being stuck a lap down if a caution does come out.
We are getting into the danger zone for those tires right now as we pass lap number 27, scoring lap 28 when they come back to the start-finish line once again. Now, again, on front, Christian Budd continues to lead, right? You've been watching the battle between the 8 and the 98 these last several laps, and not a whole lot of real battles between the rest of the field. You're starting to see drivers come back on pit road, and it looks like something's wrong with the 89.
The 89 is returning to the racetrack. They had a technical failure. A part of their wheel hub had failed, and so it took them several laps to try to get that resolved. The 89 is still trying to figure out if they've got anything fixed at all because now it's a critical issue for them, and they're just right now running safe test laps, running around pit lane at the moment, just running on the apron out of the way. But right now, just kind of diagnosing to see if they've gotten that issue fixed in the 89. So keep an eye on the 89 here. Again, just trying to stay out of the way, and obviously seeing him running the apron whenever possible. A critical failure that they're still diagnosing. That's why he was in pit lane for several laps there. But definitely something to keep an eye on for the 89 car. And he's not the only one. Brandon Cruz in pit lane as well with a big time issue. Same with Tyler Murray, also stuck in pit lane for an extended period of time for what could be issues entering pit lane as well.
One of the most difficult pit lanes in all of racing, and these drivers are going to have to contend with it now, as it looks like the 17 may be thinking about coming down pit road. He goes through turns 1 and 2, slowing it just a little bit there, maybe trying to conserve what's left of those tires in 3 and 4. He's not going to be the first one to come down pit road. He skips the commitment cone, and he will continue to run on scoring lap 32 of 70. This is a very bold move for some of these drivers up front. Do you think they're going to try to do it in one pit stop?
I think that's the aim right now. Obviously, we know that tires can kind of give up here by lap 30. But again, we talked about this in the top of the broadcast. There are some tire whisperers here, and Christian Budd is one of them. That he can go a little bit longer on that tire life, and his time drop up hasn't been horrible. Right now, Dylan Roberts running a little bit quicker by a fraction of a second. So is Larry Pace. So Christian Butt obviously definitely tiptoeing a little bit more. But he built up such a good gap there on the 8 and the 98 that he can tiptoe a little bit and make it to 35. Everyone else sort of just letting it even out here. But 100%, if you can make it to about lap 36 before you make a pit stop, very fantastic. For them, the objective is just go as long as you feel like you can, because that makes the rest of the race a lot easier. Everyone else that pit early, they've had a 2-stop race guaranteed. You're on the right strategy call. If you can make it a 1-stop, it's just, obviously, when you talk about the risk of tire failure, that can definitely send you from being a hero to a 0 in no time flat. But Christian Butt, I think, knows what he's doing here. He's holding the station here with Roberts and Pace not far behind him. They're sort of matching each other as far as their pace that they're running. 25.9s across the board for them. And again, this is kind of where you want to be as far as the race leader. You know that you've made it to where you're on the 1-stop strategy. Anything that happens now is an absolute bonus. You just got to make sure that things stay green. And here comes the 17, and it gives Dylan Roberts the race lead for the first time today.
The 17 of Christian Butt trying to make it a 1-stop race will come down pit road. The leader, the current leader, the 8 of Dylan Roberts, will not follow him. Even though he's getting sideways in those turns, I expect him to come down this time by, along with the 98 machine of Larry Pace. Those two drivers should be forced to come in this time by, and this is where it gets really interesting for me.
That's where it gets very tricky for the 8 of Roberts.
Oh!
Huge trouble, and that was with Craig Longsucker, who had done the exact same thing. Larry Pace got it low down in time, but Dylan Roberts way too hot entering pit lane, and a lot of damage on that Budweiser number 8. That was what he did not need there, and that's going to really hurt him, the points leader. A lot of heavy contact in the rear of that car especially.
Caution flag out for the first time tonight. Or no, are we under caution or are we under green?
Yeah, we're under caution for the first time
tonight. Under caution for the first time tonight, and that benefits a lot of these drivers who are currently sitting up front. The loser in that one, dare I say it, obviously Roberts was definitely a big loser in that one, but Christian Butt, who went down a lap, he's now going to have to climb his way back to the field.
Yeah, because he's not even the free pass recipient for that. The free pass recipient is going to be the 16 of Kirk Marble.
No, and now he should get his lap back. If I understand, if I'm doing my timing correctly, when everyone else comes down to the attention of their crews, he should get his lap back, but he's not going to be back up front. It will be Jose Solis, it will be Tyler Head and company who will be leading this race when we go back to green flag racing. So a lot of different names up front, and I think that's bad news for for Christian Butt and the number 8 of Dylan Roberts. We talk about caution flags being a differentiator. We're seeing it happen in real time.
And look at the top 5 that came down pit lane. Solis, Head, Alexander, Howe, and McGee. That is a very interesting top 5 that we just saw kind of turn its head around here. And Larry Pace, very fortunate. He was able to make his pit stop here and get on track without going a lap down. Larry Pace, I think, is going to inherit the race lead. No, he did not come down pit lane.
Well, okay, so he may actually now get the lead, but he's going to be forced to come down pit lane. Yeah. He's the only driver who does not have tires right now. Sure, he can get the 5 points for leading a lap under caution, but without tires, he's going to drop down in a hurry.
Yeah, he's definitely going to need to come down pit lane this time. He rolled through pit lane because, remember, he pit with Dylan Roberts there. Did not take service to avoid going a lap down. So smart enough for him, for the spatial awareness, to know that he needed to just roll through pit lane there. And obviously it helps out because he's going to obviously lose spots here. He's going to drop down outside the top 10, down to about, unfortunately, he's going to drop down to at least 16th.
Well, looks like he's coming down, as it looks like he's going to come down pit road this time by. He took his 5 points for leading a lap. He's happy with his 5 points, and now you're right. That's just a matter of where he comes out of pit road after this.
Obviously, some drivers will need to get wave arounds if they can. A lot of drivers waiting on the wave around here. So I believe, again, that Larry Pace should come out 16th here because so many cars are stuck behind the pace car into the last lap of caution. It will give Jose Solis Jr. the race lead ahead of Tyler Head, Parker Alexander. And then Emily Howe and Brendan McGee top 5. Kyle Benson, Ryan Hill, Logan Kress, Mo Perry, and Matt Taylor your top 10 at the moment. Again, this field's flipped completely upside down just with where everything's at. And you see in that wave around queue, just waiting for their moment to go, Christian Budd, driver with the most laps led in this race, will not right now be a factor for the race win unless some really crazy things happen later on in the next 30 laps.
Well, not necessarily. Let's not go that far. He's one of the wave around cars. He got his lap back when everyone else came down pit road. So we will get a wave around before we go back to green flag racing. The challenge for him, though, is he's got to climb from 20th all the way up through the rest of the field. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible. What I'm saying is it is definitely going to be a challenge for him. Number one, will his car continue to operate in optimal performance the entire race? And number two, will he be able to maintain a fast pace with his tire wear that he's going to have to suffer to get back up front?
That's the thing. We've not seen a 17 car in traffic so far in this race, and it is a completely different monster here at Dover when you are so deep in the traffic queues here. He's got to really calibrate and coordinate with himself here just to minimize the damage here, because he went from being the leader of the race to now being one of the last cars in the field in the chase. Top 5 all chase drivers at the moment. Obviously, he's going to be right behind Gabriel Mauricio in 20th. And you're going to see as everyone queues up here and gets ready to go on this restart. Nick Doucette's also ahead of him. So it's not a friendly time here. Only driver really behind Christian Budd right now is Dylan Roberts, who has a load of problems on the number 8 car still.
A load of problems. Now, the 8 is a car that's going to be definitely probably out of this race, and that is going to shake up the entire chase as we go back to racing here in less than a lap. Jose Solis Jr. will be your leader. Tyler Head, Parker Alexander, your top 3. Emily Howe now in the top 5, and to 9 of Brendan McGee also in the top 5 as well. Green flag about to fly. Here we go. Jose Solis gets the jump on the rest of the field, and we are back to green flag racing as it looks like they're going to try to go 3 wide in turn number 1.
Yeah, Ryan Hill saw the opportunity and jumped at it as soon as the green flag fell. He was trying to make up spots here. He is in rarefied air at the moment, that 51 car, just trying to make something happen, and it looks like we're back under caution immediately. And it's for the 31 of Ken Huff.
Caution for the second time tonight is the singular machine of Ken Huff. Looks like he's got some very heavy rear end damage on that machine, so maybe not the best restart for him. We'll have to see exactly what happens, and it might have involved Christian Budd.
Oh, it 100% involved Christian Budd. Not great there, and he's going to slide down. That's where most of the damage came from, was that inside retaining wall. But yeah, Ken Huff obviously not sure if he was meaning to what was going on there. So obviously we'll look here and see if we can get a good overhead camera here. Let's see if we can get a good shot. But there we go. Chopper camera here. And let's back it up here to the start finish line for him. Oh, he is dropping spots early too.
Not only is he dropping spots early, but that also throws another monkey wrench into the system with the heavy damage, or with the damage, I should say, on Christian Budd's car. Will that take him out of contention? Once that nose gets punched in, as you see there, 31 just spins the tires on the restart and does not able to recover it. He makes contact with the 43, then the 17 punts him into turns 1 and 2. Now with the nose damage on the 17, when that concaves in, it acts like a big plow and just catches all the air in front of you. Is Christian Budd now, with the damage on his car, out of contention?
Really good question to ask, and he's definitely got something on the front of that car. Not going to be fun to deal with if you are Christian Budd. We'll see if we can get a good look at it here as he comes down pit lane. And you can tell just looking here from the pit exit camera that he has some interesting damage on the front of that car that they're going to need to work on, because this car, it's very nose dependent as far as where you generate your downforce from. And he has lost a significant portion of that, and that's going to send him back even further here with now coming to 26 laps to go.
With 26 laps to go, we have two of our front row contenders possibly out of contention for this race, with time running out too. We're just under 30 laps to go at this juncture, and Jose Solis, Tyler Head now have a stranglehold on this race, as well as a handful of other drivers who want to win the 2024 Winstel Cup, I should say. So Jose Solis Jr., the biggest beneficiary out of this cautions. Tyler Head, though, in the mix as well. He's looking to go 2 for 2 in the chase.
Yeah, talk about everything that he's trying to do right now. We talk about him just trying to make it easier for himself if he doesn't make Homestead Miami, to be able to just put himself in a points position that is just very favorable for that situation, just covering all the bases right now. He's only got one car to get around to go 2 for 2, and that's Jose Solis Jr. And you gotta like the odds if you're Tyler Head. You know you can go head to head, you can go toe to toe with Solis and come out on top here. And all you have to do is apply a little bit of pressure, save some tires, and make the next 25 laps as easy and breezy as possible for yourself. Solis will have to do a lot of mirror driving, and he's very keen on mirror driving, trying to hold off that 4 car.
He's going to have to do a lot of very interesting driving. All these drivers are, as we have a lot of drivers now back in contention. And once again, as I said before, this will shake up the chase points when we get out of this race. Some guys who were up front may drop just a little bit, and those who we talked about needing a good night, like Parker Alexander and Emily Howe, they now have a big opportunity on their hands to walk away with some laps and pick up some major points towards getting back up in the chase and potentially making a name for themselves with a cup.
And you see here the way the restarts are: lapped cars to the inside lane, lead lap cars in the outside lane. It is under Jose Solis' control for the restart, but the lap cars will be on the inside lane. Lead lap cars, the instruction is usually try to pass on the outside of those lap down cars. Usually that goes well for about half a minute, and then it usually kind of goes out the window, but it gives everyone at least a good structure to kind of start or restart the race on. As we come to 24 laps to go, Tyler Head will have to wait at least a half a lap before he can try to go and attack that 29 car.
Base car will come off this time by making the hard left turn down pit road at the exit of turn number 4. Jose Solis Jr. in command of the field. The inside cars all at least one lap down, including the resurrection of the 8 machine. What's going to happen as we get ready to go? Green flag will tell as Jose Solis Jr. will take the field to the green flag, and we are down to racing. And the 29 and 4 get a huge jump on the field, and now the 29 and 4 are going to do a little bit of business to see who's going to lead the rest of this race.
Seeing some of the cars get clear of the lap traffic there. That's Philip Snipes there leading the lap car train. Top 3 cars did get clear, and all of them chase contenders: Solis, Head, and Alexander. With now you've got Ryan Hill, the 51 car, up in the mix trying to play spoiler. And you see that 8 car, Dylan Roberts, down at 25th, a lap down. He is now very much struggling as the second car 1 lap down.
Philip Snipes also in that mix. Emily Howe, who's been struggling all night, she's now trying to work her way up through this field and ultimately try to stay in contention for the chase if she can get around those 2 drivers who are currently on the outside of the chase for the cup. Jonathan Hernandez also in the top 10. The 38 looks like of Kyle Benson in that group as well. Lots of drivers, and everybody looks like they're playing a little safe right now. They want to be the recipient of the next caution. They don't want to cause it themselves.
Yeah, obviously everyone just trying to just get to the finish of this race. We had a very hectic middle stanza there with 2 back-to-back yellows. Everyone just trying to get, at this point, just make it these next 20 laps. Get to the end here at Dover and move on to Talladega, where everyone's going to have what it's going to feel like miles of space to go across the racetrack compared to where we're at right now at Dover. But keeping on the 51 car, obviously he's stacking up pretty well here, this 51 car, just sort of in the mix. Again, playing spoiler a little bit for those like Emily Howe and for some other drivers in and around him here. You look at just some of the drivers in and around this group. Obviously Hill in 4th, Howell in 5th, Kyle Benson up in 6th. Logan Kress in 7th, another driver trying to play a little bit of spoiler on his return to Winstel competition. He's in 7th ahead of Brendan McGee, who's still in the top 10. And Nick Doucette in 9th trying to grab a position here as it's chase driver versus chase driver inside the top 10. Larry Pace, obviously, it's still recovering from the caution debacle there that really thwarted his pit stop attempt. He's gotten himself back up to the top 10, so a good recovery for the 98 car too.
Great recovery for the 98, as you see Gabriel Mauricio back there in the 42 positions behind the 98 of Pace. All drivers looking to try to improve their standings in the chase standings. And I've got a feeling they're going to be able to do it now that the top 2 contenders are effectively out of the race. They'll pick up points. This is good news. The bad news is they are not going to pick up enough to keep their hold on the lead, or if they do, it'll be very, very slim. Roberts in 25th right now, and I'm not sure where I'd see the 17 on the field anywhere.
Christian Budd is running 18th at the moment. Here he is, and he's in this group. Oh, goodness.
Yeah, that's definitely not where you want to be right now, especially when it's a very dangerous position to be in right now for the 17, the 18, all of those drivers. Not that they're not capable, but all it takes is someone to slide upwards. All it takes is somebody to get loose or go sliding through the turn, and next thing you know, as you talked about at the beginning of this race, the beginning of the show, that's going to cause the big one on this track, and you're going to collect 7, 8 cars out there on the field. You're right on board with Christian Budd, and you see it just happen right there.
That was a 32 of Matt Taylor, who shot right to the inside wall. How that wasn't any worse accident is fantastic on the behalf of Matt Taylor. But he's got some significant damage. He pancaked that driver's side.
He did. You can see that damage running down that entire left side of the car. He's going to come down pit road, smoke the tires coming down pit road, see if he can salvage the car and at least stay on the track. Christian Budd still in that mix now, leading a 3-wide group behind him. I don't know if he's on the lead lap right now. I believe he is. Currently scored 15th, but I don't know that he's going to be able to climb much higher as Jose Sulis Jr., Tyler Head, Parker Alexander continue to run hot laps.
Yeah, right now he's battling with Mo Perry. Mo Perry on the lead lap right now. That is 13th that he's just ahead of. And then Corey Cook in 12th, also on the lead lap there. Mauricio in 11th, just outside the top 10. This is where it gets a little bit harder to make these passes happen. Mo Perry finding his groove here in that number 12 machine. So far, just holding up. A championship hopeful at the moment, as you see the bee's nest, that hornet's nest behind the 17 and the 16 of Kirk Marble. And
Caution's
the yellow
out for the
flag's
third
out.
time.
Yeah.
Third caution on the field. We'll have to figure out what that's for, but it's going to involve 3 cars, the 43, the 22, and the 23. Jess Coleman in his first start going to get involved in an accident, and that's heavy damage for the 22. He may not be able to recover from that one. That also makes a big change for the drivers up front. With only a handful of drivers not on the lead lap, this could change the complexion of who's going to win this race.
Yeah, 100% can. You see Coleman, all the damage on his car. Rory Collins riding on board there with him as his car looks not so great. And the 43 is Steve Brown really struggling as Corey Steinhauser gets through there. Steve Brown really struggling. Let's see if we can figure out what happened here in this fight. And this is going to be down the front straightaway. Uh-oh, and he gets turned by Evan Locke. Teammates there.
Yep. The 43 and 42 get into each other. They get turned, and that's going to collect the 22 and the 23, and that will bring out the third caution of the evening. So Steve Brown, not what you want to see from those drivers. That is a very, very tough break.
It really is. And obviously, we'll take a look here. We'll see if we can ride on board with the 42 of Evan Locke here and just try to get a perspective as far as what he was seeing on board. Tries to go for a pass here on the 43.
I think that was just a miscommunication. That was just a racing error. Both guys looking for the same piece of real estate, and at the end of the day, it It ain't going to work. Evan Locke got the better of it, but at what cost?
Yeah, obviously not great there. We'll see here in the real motion picture here. Again, this is from high above. And again, looking at Evan Locke in the 42 and the 43 is Steve Brown here. And you talk about just trying to go for the same piece of real estate. It is very narrow here. And you see Evan Locke's turning in, but Steve Brown's turning in thinking he's still clear. And Steve Brown pays the bigger price.
I think it blamed the spotters for that one. That's where, the spotter has responsibility of saying, hey, don't look now or stay high, and that could have prevented a whole lot of that calamity down there. But unfortunately now three more cars out of the race, and Evan Locke, who was always a strong competitor out here, is going to probably walk away with a little frustration as a result of that one.
Yeah, Steve Brown on pit lane getting some extensive repairs done now. And he is not the only one. Obviously, several drivers on pit lane, and now Jose Solis Jr., one of those drivers, giving up his lead lap position, drops down to 20th place. Philip Snipes comes down pit lane as well. He got the lucky dog, the free pass position, so he is now back on the lead lap. So he's very thankful for that. And then obviously you see Jeff Coleman on pit lane.
But why is Jose Solis coming down pit lane? You're less than 10 laps, will be less than 10 laps to go. Want to go back to green flag racing? Why would you give up the lead?
If he came down pit lane early, which I think he did, he may not have had fuel to get to the end.
And that is what we talked about earlier with caution flags definitely affecting this entire race and affecting what can happen out there. So now Tyler Head is in the position to go 2 for 2 and ultimately could potentially walk away a champion despite having to miss the final race of the season. It could start tonight if he's able to win here at Dover.
Yeah, and this is where the Hornet's Nest kind of really opens up here, because you've got some really hungry drivers trying to prevent him from doing so. Parker Alexander, Nick Gisette, Hendrick teammates there in the 5 and the 24. Larry Pace looking for a chance to play spoiler. There's Gabriel Mauricio, who has not been in the top 10 much of this race at all. Find his way once again to be in the top 10 when it matters most. There's Ryan Hill in the 51. Emily Howe 7th. Christian Budd, keep an eye on him. He's in 8th right now. He's on his way back to the top 10, and obviously the top 10 earmarked right now by Logan Kress, his return to Winstel competition. He's right now just ahead of Brendan McGee, but Brendan McGee right now just on top 10 could be ready to see some fireworks fly if this goes off in the last 7 laps of this race. I think we did see the lights go out on the pace car with it being less than 10 laps to go. I believe we're just staying single file for this restart, and indeed that is the case.
That is, in fact, the case. Pace car will make the hard left turn down pit road this time by, and Tyler Head will be in command of the field when we go back to green flag racing. Pace car out of the way. The 4 of Head in front of Alexander Doucette and company, trying to win his second chase race in as many attempts. Green flag about to fly. Here we go. And already drivers scrambling to get around each other. The 4 of Head gets a great jump of the 424, the 5, all scrambling as they get into turn number 1.
Yeah, Ryan Hill once again a fiend on these restarts. 3 wide there. Alexander holds on to 3rd. And huge crash, and that's the big one. Huge crash. Started in turn 2, goes all the way to 3, and several chase drivers involved.
I was about to say that. We have 3 chase drivers now involved. You have the 9, I count the 17, the 15, all involved in that incident. All drivers who are favored to win. And now looks like the 29 may have picked up some damage as well. So that's 4 chase drivers who are having heavy damage as a result of that accident.
Yeah, huge crash there, and that was what we were fearing. I mentioned that there's a chance that a crash like that could happen on the back straightaway, and that is exactly what happened here. And with 6 laps to go at the moment, we should be able to avoid a green-white checkered, but if we do have to use one, we only get one. So this is where it gets very spicy.
If we have a restart at all, there may just hold the flag to the end of the race. Let's take us through what happened here, Carmen.
Yeah, this is where it's going to get very interesting. It all happens up ahead here, and you see just the scramble going on here. This is the 51 and the 98 up ahead. This is the battle for 3rd, and Emily Howe is just outside of this fight. Obviously, the 15 car up in the outer lane. Seems like Larry Pace gets put into the wall there just a little bit, and Christian Budd bounces off of Mauricio, and Emily Howe gets loose as well in response. And you see Corey Cook gets the wall there, Logan Kress gets the wall, Brendan McGee goes for a wild ride, Mo Perry goes for a ride, Rasmus, you've got Marble there, the 16, the 18 of Champeau. Everyone goes for an absolutely wild ride here. Jose Solis Jr. trying to avoid this. He may get lucky here and actually get everything mowed down in time. Let's see if it all actually does break through. Looks like he does get through that. And you see Christian Budd's race goes from bad to worse. But Jose Solis Jr. does get clear. So does teammate Hernandez. They both got clear of that.
So this will change the entire complexion of the race and the entire perspective of what could be the remainder of the chase for the Winstel Cup. This could have some massive, massive implications that we have yet to see on the field, as we're now down to 5 to go. If we go back to green flag racing, it wouldn't be till we have 3 to go for the green, white checkered finish.
Yeah, so right now it's very interesting. So obviously caution came out immediately there. We're at 4 to go right now. It looks like we got at least 2 more laps of caution here. If the lights go out on the pace car this time, we are still in regulation here. Obviously, race distance was 70 laps. We have 1 overtime finish, or green white checker, depending on the terminology you want to use for those watching at home. If we go green, if we have 1 to go with 3 laps to go, we're not going to be. We have an extra restart attempt in pocket if we have another issue, but we only have 1 if we need to use it. So we'll see what the lights in the pace car indicate to us. I believe we're going to be able to get going under regulation here without needing to use that extra green white checkered. That is the point of no return. Whatever happens on that last restart is it. So everyone hoping that we don't need to get to that point, because if the field freezes on that last restart, it's over. So that is what everyone's trying to avoid. They want to be able to race it out here and at least see the white flag. Once you see the white flag, that's it.
Lights are still on the pace car. We will see exactly what happens this time by, how much time we'll have left racing before we crown a winner here at Dover, Delaware. Lights should go off this time by, and let's see, do they? They do, in fact. Nope, yes, they do go off. So we will have 3. We will have 3 to go when it comes back down to racing a green, white checkered with 1 potential overdrive finish out there. Tyler Head in the best seat in the house, position number 1, but he's got 2 hungry contenders behind him in Nick Doucette and Parker Alexander.
Yeah, we'll be going green with 2 laps to go here. So it's a regulation green, white checkered finish that we've got coming up here. Again, not an overtime attempt here in Dover, Delaware, so there is still a chance for things to go really sideways once again on this part of the racetrack that they're rolling through right now. Single file, last 10 laps of the race. All restarts are single file. Lap traffic typically would be to the inside lane. With 10 laps to go, that is not the case. So it's going to give the leaders free real estate from top to bottom of the racetrack to try to get the best restart possible. It's Head, Doucette, and Alexander with Pace and Ryan Hill. Keep an eye on the 51 car top 5 at the moment. He's been an absolute menace on these restarts. Look at him to try to get a jump start here once again. That's been his expertise. That's been his calling card here recently, and we'll see if he does it again.
Green flag flies for what hopefully is the last time out there, and Tyler Head does not get the best jump. Larry Pace down low, and the 24 now in the mix as well. 4 is doing a lot of rear view mirror driving, trying to hold Nick Doucette off from winning this race.
2 miles goes by quickly. Kyle Benson tagged the wall there. Several cars tagged the wall, but they stay going straight. Mauricio locks up the brakes there and shoots up the racetrack, and now it's 3 wide out of 4. But we see the white flag. 1 lap to go.
Next flag will end the race effectively. Tyler Head in the best seat in the house. He wants to win this race. Can Nick Doucette or Larry Page play spoiler out there? In the 4 machine, goes down the backstretch 1 more time. The 24 dives in. The 4 dives in. No one can catch the 4. We have a back-to-back winner at Dover, Delaware, and his name is Tyler Head.
Really good run there by Nick Doucette, and for Larry Pace, a podium finish here this evening, doing an outstanding job. getting ahead of Parker Alexander playing spoiler, but for Nick Gisette, we talked about this at the top of the show. What a race he needed to have here at Dover. He got one.
Great finish, and some great finishes for drivers who absolutely needed them. But I think all eyes now are on Tyler Head. He was afraid he wouldn't be able to reclaim his championship. Now winning 2 straight races in the chase, he's got a much better argument for walking away with a trophy for a second time.
Tyler Head, race winner. What a good way to start off the chase for him. Exactly the way he left the chase last season. Going for championship gold once again. And as I mentioned throughout the show, if anyone's going to try to do the mathematics to get there with a race in hand, he's the guy to keep an eye on. Betting and batting 1,000 at the moment with Talladega up next. Hard to bet against that 4-car.
It's going to be very difficult to bet against the 4-car. We'll take you down, or we should take you down the finishing order here in just a moment, waiting for all these drivers to come out of their cars, come to the media center, and talk to them as they come out. Tyler Head, unofficially your winner here at Dover. Nick Gisette finishes second, Larry Pace third. Parker Alexander, who came into this race 10th in the chase, is now going to pick up some positions in 4th. Ryan Hill in 5th. Gabriel Mauricio in 6th. Kyle Benson, Kirk Marble, Chris Champeau, and Matt Sisler round out your top 10.
Yeah, an absolutely outstanding job there for all of them. Mo Perry in 11th, Jose Solis Jr. sitting right there in the 12th spot. An outstanding job for him, given the recovery drive he needed to do there at the end of that race. Corey Steinhauser in the 13th spot. Then Evan Locke, Jonathan Hernandez, top 15. Dylan Roberts, a good recovery for him, seeing as how half of his car was hanging off there at one point in the race. Logan Kress involved in that late accident there, only able to get 17th place out of that. Christian Budd, he took a hit here in this race, 18th place finish for him. Philip Snipes got back on the lead lap and got a top 10, got ahead of his teammate Brendan McKee, who rounded out the top 20 here.
Looking down the rest of the field, Emily Howe finishes 21st, Corey Cook 22nd, Rory Collins 23rd, Mike Rasmus 24th, Ken Huff 25th, Tyler Murray, Alex Bates, Craig Lautenslager, Jess Coleman, and Steve Brown round out your top 30, and retiring early from the race.
Got to get it all pulled up here because we didn't have a lot of retirements here.
No.
Hayden Repas, obviously, with the mechanical failure there, the technical issue with his wheel failure, they did not get that diagnosed. So they kind of had to just wheel it around for those remainder laps, feeling no feedback at all for the 89 car. Matt Taylor and Brandon Cruz also taken out in that same accident, that big crash that took place there about lap 55.
So that is your field of 33 drivers. Let's go ahead and talk to some of these drivers that made some noise tonight, starting with your 3rd place finisher, Larry Pace. Larry Pace came into this race not necessarily in the chase, but still wanted to make a name for himself and make some noise in the group. Larry, talk to us about how you were able to manage the car and ultimately will it into a 3rd place finish.
Yeah, it was a little more challenging than I would have wanted it to be. I feel like I had a pretty good shot at running near the front tonight, and Christian and Dylan were really fast, and we all got messed up during that green flag pit cycle. And I think they got the worst of it. I was able to at least stay on the lead lap and drive up to about 9th, and then 2-tire gamble to try to get near the front and salvage something.
Salvage, I don't think I'd use salvage for what you were able to get through tonight and how you were able to manage the race. You look strong from the beginning, from qualifying on. You were definitely one of the contenders. If you had just a little bit more time, could we have seen a different outcome where the 98's in victory lane?
Maybe. If I stay out a lap later, then I think I'm in a pretty good position during that green flag cycle. But ifs and buts, so... we had a lot of fun though. The setup was wicked loose. It was insane, so fun. So I just show up to have fun. When the track combo looks good, I'll hop in here, and there's like 8 or 9 good drivers in this series, so it's hard to hop in and just go in win. Like I've been pretty impressed with like how stellar the front of the field is in this series. So yeah, my first top 3 I think since I started racing at Winstel, which is crazy.
6 races to go left in the season. What's the plan for you and the team at this point? What are you hoping to achieve? And are you hoping to kind of carry that into the top 35 in points for next season?
Yeah, that'll definitely be nice going into next year with top 35 and not have to worry about qualifying in on time that first few weeks. But yeah, other than that, the goal, the mission, just to show up, have fun when it's a fun track, and hopefully we're done getting wrecked this season.
Larry, who makes it work for you in the 98 team?
Everybody at the drill aisle, John, Bob, Marcus, Tom. Lewandowski hasn't shown up the last few weeks. I know his personal life's pretty busy right now, but I miss him out there. Sunday nights aren't the same without him. Everybody at 3 Unit, Rob Larkin, and yeah, that's about it. And you guys for putting on the broadcast. Thanks very much.
God, I haven't heard the name Drill Isle in a very long time. Larry Pace cut it back to that old school team, and everybody making it work for him, finishing third tonight at Dover. Nick Doucette with a big finish in position number 2. And Nick, you didn't qualify very well here, but at the end of the day, you were able to get in podium position, and that's what makes it, and that's what counts.
Yeah, I kind of screwed up my qualifying lap there, which sucked because I knew track position was going to be key for tonight's race. And on that first run, I was just trying to hold on until the pit stops. I mean, everyone knew we were going to shred our tires. It was just, the closer you could be to the leaders, the better you could be in terms of like track position and whatnot, in case if that race did go green all the way. So I was a little aggressive on the initial start of the race, started passing a lot of cars, probably tore up my tires a little bit more than I should have. But it paid off in the end. I mean, we got the pit stop, which didn't really work to our favor, but I guess I shouldn't complain. There was quite a bit of chase contenders that had some misfortune tonight, so I was lucky to not get involved in an incident. And did some thinking there when we had our caution with about 10 laps to go, took the 2 tires, put myself back in position, got a good couple of restarts after that to put us in third place, and I got around Parker there on I think the second to last restart when he spun his tires, and yeah, was able to hold on to second place for a good finish.
With calamity happening to 2 of the other cup competitors who were looking to finish this race strongly, you now should move up from third position but into second, potentially into first. How much is this race potentially going to impact the rest of your chase?
Well, we go to Talladega next week, so I'm who's to really say what's going to happen there? I mean, obviously it is a good help entering Talladega. But who's to say what can happen next week? It's going to be such a lottery. Anyone could, you can get wrecked out on lap 1, or you could make it to the end and possibly win the thing. Who's to really know? But all we can do is just carry with this forward momentum into Talladega and hope for a good finish there, and hope to carry it forward even further into the chase.
I was about to say, with 6 races left to go, what is your thought process? How do you manage yourself and manage your emotions, your car, in order to potentially walk away with the cup?
Just keep taking it race by race, keep testing, making sure you're comfortable with the setup, making sure you're understanding what the setup is going to do throughout a run. I really couldn't tell you what's after Talladega. I really don't remember the exact schedule, but it seems like every time I'm up here and we talk about the upcoming races, I keep saying that they're horrible races for me, and I keep getting an interview, so I must be doing something right. So I'm just gonna keep saying that I suck everywhere and hope that it gets me a top 3.
I'll close out our interview with this. You've got Talladega, Kansas, Atlanta, Phoenix, Darlington, and then of course the finale at Homestead, Miami. Are you excited about any of them?
I can tell you I'm not excited for Darlington. I honestly love Darlington, but in the past in Winstel, I just have not done very good at Darlington. So who's to really say what could happen? I could get a great finish there, or I could ruin my whole chase hopes there. But I would say I'm looking forward to Atlanta because I won Charlotte, and Atlanta and Charlotte are very similar. But Kansas, I'm not too sure about. Phoenix, I've done well in the past, so they're good racetracks for me, in other cars and sometimes in this car as well. But just like I said about a minute ago, I'm just going to keep saying that I suck there and hope that it gets me a good finish.
Nick, who makes it work for you?
Everyone here at Winstel who puts on a great show. Emily makes some awesome setups. This was another great setup. really took a lot of talent to drive these cars, and I would say for the most part we put on a good show. You know, we kind of got a little crazy there towards the end, but that's always going to happen when it's on a track and a setup that's hard to pass. But no, kudos to her and everyone who contributes to making these awesome setups, and everyone at Winstel for putting on a great league. You guys for putting on a great broadcast. And he's on vacation, but I'll continue the trend. Hello to Ryan Kame if you're out watching.
The eternal optimist, Nick Doucette, finishing second tonight and putting himself in a great position to continue on the chase. 2 for 2, the defending champion goes in and wins not only at New Hampshire, but now at Dover Motor Speedway. Tyler Head, your winner here tonight. And Tyler, when we talked earlier in the season, you said defending your championship was not on your priority list. You've won 2 straight in the series, in the chase. Has that changed your mind even at least a little bit?
Well, I mean, it certainly doesn't hurt that cause, right? But I mean, the first priority for me is trying to have fun in these races, enjoy the really competitive nature of them, the unique setups that we have, and the really talented people that we have to race with, and just try to do my best and execute to the best of my ability and try to win. And if I can't win, get a top 3. If I can't get top 3, top 5, so on and so on. And so obviously the 1 mile tracks have been very kind to me this year. And so I'm very thankful to be able to get another win here. And as far as the championship goes, I just keep on getting after it here, and we'll see how it's all shaping up when we get into the final couple at Darlington and Homestead.
So far, the tracks a mile or under have been very kind to you. Your other 2 wins coming at Rockingham and Martinsville. How much of this race did you learn from the past 3 wins, and how much were you able to apply that into ultimately taking away this win?
Well, I don't know how much really did apply from those other ones, just because the tire wear was so extreme tonight compared to most of the races that we've had. I mean, tire management and really managing how much you're abusing the tires with all the horsepower that you have in these cars, and the way that we have them get set up by Emily Howe. There's always an amount of that, but tonight it was to a completely different level. I mean, I was running in that first green flag run all the way up until the caution in the middle of the pit stops there. I was trying to keep it reined in as far as what I was asking the car to do, a lot more than usual, just because if you didn't do that, you were going to literally blow the right rear off in about 40 laps. So it was a completely unique challenge today. But as far as what does apply from those races, and really all of them, it was just executing, not beating yourself, and then when you get that caution with, say, 10 laps to go, like we had tonight, making the right call as far as whether you need 2 tires, 4 tires need to stay out, making the right call to balance overall grip in the car, but also having track position. And I've been able to do that pretty well so far this year.
Tyler, I know you're not going to be at the finale, October 13th at Homestead, Miami. We've already discussed that.
I'll correct you. Good chance I will be there. Things have changed. Good chance I will be there.
Oh, well, that does absolutely change everything, because again, when we talked earlier this season, you swore, no, I'm not necessarily looking to defend my championship. I'm not going to be at the finale. Looking at the rest of the schedule, we do have a couple mile-long tracks in Phoenix and Darlington, and then of course the 1.5 mile at Homestead, Miami. What's it going to take to make Tyler Head your back-to-back Cup winner?
I don't have any room for error, because I do know that I will end up missing at least one, Kansas, I believe it is, the weekend of Real Life Watkins Glen, because that's where I'll be. So that's going to be where my drop goes. So I can't have something like next week at Talladega getting caught up in the big one and finishing 30th. I mean, with the crop of people that we have here and them all being spotted a drop, just like me, having a 30th on the ledger is not going to get the job done. So I need to make every other race, and I need to click off top 5s and top 10s at worst to have a shot at it. And even then, there's a couple people that are capable of winning several races between now and Homestead, and then being very stout there. So like I said off the top, I'm just looking forward to each race competing with those people and having fun along the way. And if we get to Darlington and Homestead and it's within grasp, then great. But otherwise, I'm just going to have fun racing.
Tyler, who makes it work for you in the 4 team?
Everybody here at Winstel that makes this happen each week. And that includes you guys here putting on the broadcast. Really appreciate everybody that has helped make that happen this year and going forward. It's a lot of fun to watch back and a big selling point for people who want to participate for sure.
Tyler Head, your winner, going back to back in the first 2 races of the Winstel Cup Chase. Carmen, we saw a race that was ultimately decided by caution flags, and who was able to take the best advantage of them. Your final thoughts on what we saw tonight?
Just as we were kind of expecting, it was going to be a race determined a lot by strategy, but also by cautions at the worst possible time for some, at the best possible time for others. The point situation is going to be very interesting, obviously, after tonight and going into Talladega. You're going to start seeing some desperate driving, I think, especially for some drivers. I think Christian Budd now needs a lot of help now to get back into that championship mix after not finishing well. Emily Howell not finishing top 20, a huge hit for her. I think she ended up finishing 21st. Brendan McGee ended up finishing 20th, so both of them now needing a lot of help. It's a plate track. It's the last plate race of the season at Talladega, and we know McGee and Howell can do well. But after that, it becomes a gauntlet of races. Tyler Head looks really good. He knows he's missing Kansas, but there's a lot of tracks that speak to him really well once again here in the chase. And obviously, everyone just now needs to sort of take stock of where they're at. There's 6 races to go in the season. Then we have Talladega and then 3 weeks off, and then we go back on the 15th of September to get racing back underway. Everyone needs to sort of take a deep breath. It's not over yet. No one's mathematically out of it. But if you're someone like Emily Howe, if you're someone like Christian Budd, this needs to be a one-and-done situation. You need to be top 10 or better from here on out. And that's hard to do. So a very interesting race. This is going to have a knock-on effect as far as how the rest of the season just goes for just about everybody in the top 10. The people that we thought were going to be in the mix ended up being nowhere close outside of Tyler Head. So that's going to be the very interesting talking point going to Talladega next week. But very entertaining as always. This series just doesn't ever let up as far as the entertainment factor goes. And Talladega being as fast as it is, as entertaining as these cars are on the plate races, what's not to love about it?
Plenty of racing still left to go as the chase continues on for the Winstel Cup. Be sure to join us next week when we go racing from Talladega Super Speedway, 45 laps around the giant 2 and almost 3/4 mile racetrack. You won't want to miss it. 7:45 Eastern, 4:45 Pacific here on ABN1. That concludes our coverage of tonight's race from Dover International Speedway. Congratulations once again to Tyler Head, going 2 for 2, your back-to-back winner, looking for back-to-back championships in the 2024 Winstel Cup campaign. On behalf of my broadcast partner, Carmen Sienna, my name is Joe Cortez. We'll see you next time when we go racing from Talladega Super Speedway. Good night, everybody.